Today I wanted to go over fraction basics. Now, I realize this is maybe a video I should have done before I started working on fractions, but I kind of took for granted maybe background fraction knowledge of students. So I just want to go into what fractions are in the simplest form because some of the things that I've heard students say about fractions show a complete lack of understanding of what fractions are or what the numbers represent. So, anyway, first, uh, there is the the top number is called a numerator. Okay, and the bottom number is called the denominator. Now, the denominator, I think I spelled that wrong. Uh, anyway, so, um, yeah, denominator. I think that's how you spell it. Anyway, the bottom number is the denominator represents the total number of pieces that the whole is split into. So this circle represents the whole. It represents 1, okay? So the circle equals 1, a whole. It equals the number 1, right? And then the denominator is how many pieces, equal pieces, they have to be equal or it's not a fraction. So they are equal pieces that you split the whole into. And the numerator is how many of those pieces you're representing, right? Or so in the case of how much of this whole is shaded. Well, there were two pieces that it was split into, and one of them was shaded. So it is 1/2 is shaded. Now we have 1/3. Now, like I said, imagine that all of these pieces are exactly even. I just drew these freehand with the mouse, so they're not going to be perfect. This piece looks a little smaller than these two pieces, but just imagine they were exactly the same. Okay? So 1/3. Now, the 3 is in the bottom, so that means that it's split into 3 pieces, and 1 is how many are shaded. Now, what this means is the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces are, right? Because if I split a circle into 4 pieces, those pieces are going to be smaller than if I only split it up into 2 pieces. If I split it up into 100 pieces, the pieces would be tiny on this circle, right? So the bigger the denominator, the smaller the pieces are. And that's just because the more pieces you split something into, the smaller the pieces are going to be. If you share a chocolate bar with your friend, you split it in half, you each have a decent amount of the chocolate bar left. If you split that same chocolate bar with every kid in your class, everyone's going to get like half of a bite. Maybe not even, right? Because you're splitting it into greater pieces. So 1/4 is just one of these filled out. Okay? Then we have 2/3. So 2/3 would just be 2 of these filled out. Okay? And now we have 2/4, which I want to show you something. 2/4 is actually equal, as you can see, to this. It's equal just a very large equal sign there. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. And look at these two circles. They're the same amount is filled in. And the reason that is because if I multiply this by 2 over 2, and 2 over 2, just to be clear, if I split a fraction in two and then color both pieces, all two of the pieces, it equals 1. So anytime a fraction has the same numerator and denominator, it equals 1. And when you multiply by 1, the value doesn't change. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. So 1/2 actually equals 2/4. And you can do this with any iteration of 1. So 1/2 times 3 over 3 equals, you just multiply across, 3 over 6, which is also equal to 1/2. So this is just a very basic explanation of what fractions are, what the numbers in them represent, and hopefully that is helpful.